All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. And today we are talking to two very well-respected realtors here in Portland who happen to be related. I want to welcome to the show Kari McGee and Erika George of HouseLovePDX at Living Room Realty. Kari, Erika, say hi.
Hello. Hi.
So you guys are not only business partners, but you guys are cousins, which is why I love your story so much. And of course, the real theme of this episode or my show is to help bring out kind of the who you are behind your real estate practice. So we're gonna dive into that. But before I do, for those who don't know, Erica and Kara, you guys are definitely Portland mainstays. I've been in this business for a number of years, and your names always come up in real estate circles. Your team has transacted over $80 million of real estate in recent years. So you guys are definitely at the top of your game in terms of production. You guys have been named five-star realtors for a decade now. So congratulations on that. And again, what I love about your story is that you guys, I think, bring yourselves, your persona to your real estate practice. You're so genuine. And so I want to talk about that. But before we talk about your real estate practice, let's go back to kind of your origin stories and life before real estate. Kari, you've lived all over the world and you grew up in a military family. So tell us a little bit about growing up and all the places you've lived.
Yeah, I think, I always say a lot closer in age to my parents than I am to my kids. So, and what that means is if you were born in the 60s, is your parents were participating in the Vietnam War. So both my husband and I have these crazy stories where as like young children, we lived all over the place between medical school where my dad was in school all over. When you have babies at 21, you just bring your kids along for like all of the stuff that happens in your 20s, which is a lot. So lived in Denver and then lived in Guam for a couple of years because that was sort of the military hospital outside of Vietnam, and then back to Denver to do some more training, and then when I was 8 moved to Salem, Oregon. And then as an adult, went to college in Ohio, and then lived in New York City, and then college in LA, and just all San Diego in college, and then Seattle and Boston and back to New York. And yes, I've lived a lot of places.
So one of the favorite stories I think you told in our pre-interview was being in Salem in third grade, being the new kid and being bullied, and how that has shaped you when you turned to fourth grade, you kind of reacted to that, but then it's really become who you are. So
Yeah.
would you be willing to share that story?
Yeah, and it was funny, Evan, because you talked about in our pre-meeting, like, oh, everybody just says I just like houses, or I don't really know how I got here. And it really made me think. I was like, gosh, it really is like therapy moments for me, maybe, where I had a horrible bullying experience in third grade, being the new kid at this school, a really nice school, nicest neighbor. Like we lived in the hood in medical school in Denver, Colorado, where like chalk marks of bodies on the playground were like the Saturday morning discovery. So like moving to the nice neighborhood in Salem, Oregon, it was not what I expected it to be. It was kind of awful. But as a result, those kids moved away after the third grade that were my nemesis. And I was really determined not to let other new kids have the same experience. Also, I think I maybe just needed some friends because I didn't have any. But it was really easy. I did make friends. I'm actually going on vacation this summer with one of those friends that moved in after me. That I was like, I'm going to make this go well for you and give you the tour and tell you who to avoid and all those things. So now I'm just doing the grown-up version of that, I
Well,
guess.
when you read your customer reviews for you guys, one of the things that comes up is your warmth and your welcoming, and I think that maybe as a byproduct of that experience is
of, of
compensating for
trauma.
that. So Erica, before
Yeah, and a grandma. Yeah.
My
what
mother was so welcoming, and she was also in
Yeah.
Salem, Oregon, and was so welcoming and so warm. And I mean
He
that,
was the welcome wagon for Salem, Oregon. So
yeah.
yeah.
So we both definitely cut that like hospitality, bring everyone into the fold from her.
Yeah.
more the merrier.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, and so you were a performer. You were a singer and you were the 1983 soprano state champion in Oregon. I mean, come on, we have celebrity.
Woo!
You're probably the highest grade celebrity I've ever had on this show.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh wow. Wow. Yeah. Well, Evan, you need to get out a little bit
I
more.
know it's true. A lot of people tell me that. But the point is that you learn to perform in front of people, and you went to Oberlin College, which is a very notable music school back in Ohio. Um, what drew you to music, and how do you think that's influenced you as an adult and professional today?
Oh, music is just, it's in our family. Like it's
Yeah.
everything. Like Erica's mom has perfect pitch. We cannot go to a music concert without all of us going, pitchy, pitchy, whatever. Yeah, I mean, just there's a fair amount of musical talent, I think, in our family, and I've had some of it and was just drawn to it. And remember going to yeah, actually in Denver, and we were at Cheeseman Park. We went to see one of those summer outdoor productions in the park of Sound of Music. And I was at five. I think I was five at the time. I was like, I'm gonna do that someday. So I don't know. It just was something I knew I could be one of
Yeah.
the kids.
Yeah. But I can imagine feel comfortable in front of people that you haven't met before. If you've had to audition and things like that, like there's this level of comfort and charm that maybe you garnered from all that.
Yeah, but also that's part of the journey of like you have to really be able to handle that, especially as a solo musician. And I didn't, I got nervous. So that was
Mm,
part of my journey of like leaving music and going more towards acting, like either musical theater or straight acting, because I never felt alone in that
mm.
situation, as opposed to I'm now giving my recital or standing on the stage by myself, and that was harder for me. And that was one of the things I think I really love the community aspect of just
Mm.
acting
Yeah.
and
Well,
playing.
I've recently seen you on TV and you had no element of nerves in that. So, Erica, you as a younger person, you were kind of the opposite. You were quieter, more observant
I
as a
was just,
child.
I was shy. I was timid. I was definitely observant, but I don't even know how observant I was because I was just so shy. I was so afraid someone was going to speak to me and I'd have to say something or that my mom was going to leave me. I was just really kind of a basket case those first, I don't know, few years, just I think young child things. We moved around a lot too, so I was the new kid. Similar, 70s, not the 60s, but similar. My parents were doing a lot
Yeah.
of moving to go to grad school and moving to just live in countries because it was the 70s and they could. And so I think I just probably didn't feel very rooted at the beginning, so I was just really really shy. And so yeah, I think I was observing, but mostly I think I was just hoping people wouldn't talk to me.
You mentioned in our pre-interview that you didn't go to the same school for more than 2 years until high school. That's a lot of moving around.
Yeah, that was definitely my journey, and I think I got better and better at it, right? So, but
Yeah.
I think that probably is one of the things that because most people who meet me wouldn't say that they think of
Not
me as shy.
not at all.
So, I think that is probably one of the things is by the fourth time you've learned to sort of fake it till you make it, and even if these aren't, going to be my best friends for life, I'm going to be able to at least, be in a room and, not make it miserable for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. And then as a cousin, a younger cousin of Kari's, you tell stories about going to Salem. You would go there for the summer and hang out.
Yeah, I mean that was especially when we were moving around a lot. Sometimes I just get to come back to Salem from wherever we were for like a week or two. And I mean, you could have told me we were in Disneyland, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you any differently. Salem, Oregon was my jam, and I had two older cousins there who were both girls. I had two little brothers in my life, so to have like two older girls in my life was just the best. Our grandma would like take us around and we get to have lunch at Myron Frank and
Oh my God. It's like old school Oregon here.
I absolutely loved it. And then my cousins, Kari and then her younger sister Chrissy were just I absolutely idolized them because they were just always, they were in high school when I was in, junior high and grade school and
Sure.
they just seemed so cool and they were so musical and so talented. I mean, they were just basically what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah. You guys both share that you I mean, I was born in the house that I went off to college in. I never moved one time in my childhood. And you guys you moved more in your childhood than I probably moved in my entire life. And it's interesting to me to think about your profession today and that you now advise and consult people on that transition. And I don't know, I mean, clearly when you were back that age, I don't imagine you were, thinking about a career in real estate, but do you think, or I guess my question would be, how do you think that experience shapes your practice today? I mean, you've had a lot of chances to transition in your life.
Yeah.
I think it has absolutely shaped the idea of wanting, especially for our out of town buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, people in town moving, it's the same thing, but I love out of town buyers. I love making those connections. I like being an ambassador of Portland. I like making those connections. Those are some of the most exhausting weekends when a buyer comes in, and I feel like it's my favorite thing. And I think it's because I know what it's like to move. I know what it's like to be the new kid, even if even if you're 40 years old and wanting to find the right neighborhood or the right friends or the right, the right places to eat, So I think it's definitely.
And I also think being anchored to a space, like because we maybe didn't have that so much growing up. I did after sort of 8 years old, at least for the rest of my childhood. But I think that need is really strong, maybe like in both of us. And so I think we know what that it feels like to just have that need of like, oh, we just want to get settled, right? We just in a physical space that means home and security and so I think we both really feel that force really strong. And so we hustle. Like
Yeah.
we are like, we know what that feels like to just not have it. And we want to help people find it. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, before we start to talk about the beginning of your real estate careers, let's fill in the gap between, your childhood into your real estate career. So, Kari, you went it, you took a shot at being an actress and you lived, I think, in New York and LA, correct?
yeah.
So tell us
And
about that
Boston
window
and
of time.
Seattle. Yeah. So I definitely have two parts. I did 20 years as an actor and had some good years, did a lot of regional theater, did a lot of voiceover work, radio and TV voiceover work, and made a living doing that for a while. And then, ended up in LA and just never got to the level that I needed to get. And yeah, a house, two door, I was, in an apartment pregnant, a house 2 doors down from us went on the market. It was 2 bedroom, one bath, 750,000. And this was in 2000 and whatever, 3. And I remember sobbing. I burst into tears. I was like, we're never gonna be able to afford to buy a house here. And so and not getting where we wanted to be in LA. And why the heck are we in LA? And then I came up to visit my cousin in May when the cherry trees were in bloom. And I mean, yeah, in Portland. Erika was living in Portland and it was like, all right, feeling like this chapter of my life is done. We need to do something different. There were kind of two things. It was, I knew someone who was getting a real estate license. I was thinking about that just because I was like, I'm really good at finding awesome places to live and
Yeah.
working the systems. And then I'd had so many day jobs. I had a lot of skills, just, administrative skills and I knew how to work a room and public speaking and all that to meet people. So I just figured I could do that. Teaching was the other option. I think I like to educate. That's a big part, I think, of our process. Especially for me, like educating our clients, making sure they understand the contracts, what they're taking on, like all of those things. Um, and uh, and yeah, I took some money from some stock options that I had at McCann's Engineering as the Pam. I was the office Pam at McCann's Engineering in Los Angeles, and I sold it all, paid the taxes, but that's what started my real estate business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Erica, you went to law school and you were an attorney.
Yeah.
So what
So
happened after high school? What was the draw to law and then tell us what kind of your first job and your transition to Portland.
Yeah, I went to Pacific Lutheran University out of high school and had some the great professors. So I think I'm a lawyer because I had one class I think my sophomore year of this system. Had to do something with the law, and I loved this professor. And I realized I really loved learning about the legal system. It was one of those things your aha moments in college. So then figured out I wanted to go straight to law school. In retrospect, I don't know what the hurry was. I had no debt. I was like, why am I going straight to law school? But I think it was a hard economy and I didn't want to be a barista and I didn't have any skills. So went straight to law school at University of Oregon. And then met my husband there, which was awesome. And then we settled in Portland in 1997, and I was then a lawyer for 15 years here in Portland.
That's awesome. This is important because you were doing contract and like construction
Yeah.
litigation, correct?
Yep.
So
Contracts and
you were in the real estate industry, so to speak, just on the legal side of it.
yeah, and I did other things too, but a lot of what I had to do was yeah, having to do with construction and contracts and managing construction contracts. And so yeah, that was when I did finally decide to make the leap over to real estate. And a lot of people come from different careers. And some people have big learning curves in one areas and then, less
Yeah.
learning curves in others. And that's one of the cool things about being a realtor is there's almost no life experience that isn't going to shape and
Provide
help
something.
you.
Yeah.
So, but that was the easy lift for me is when we got into the, just sort of the mechanics of a deal on the contracts.
Yeah, yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure as we talk about your guys' practice. So Kari, you end up getting licensed in, remind me the year,
2005.
2005, and who was your first client?
Oh, yeah, it was a buyer I met at an open house.
Yeah.
And he wanted to write the offer, and so we went somewhere, and I was, paper contracts back then. And he was like, "Who do I write the earnest money check out to?" And I did not know because real estate school does not prepare you for a job in real estate.
That's
So
right.
I pretended like I got a message on my phone, and I said, "Oh, can I?" 1 second, I just need to take this. I'll be right back. So I went out to the parking lot and I called my managing broker, Joe Manasci at the time, and said, "Who does he write the earnest money check out to?" It's like the title company. So I went back in and he was like, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yep, yep, no problem." And then told him who he should write the earnest money check out to.
It's funny, this didn't come up in pre-interview, but I had almost the same exact experience. I was working in a bank in Lake Oswego and I started, and the day I started, there was three other loan officers in the branch. They had a combined work experience of 6 months. So none of us knew what we were doing. And it was 2002, and mortgage rates were 6.5, and within 30 days they were like 6. And so all these
Oh,
depository customers would come in to refinance, and I took an application, and I knew how to take the application, I knew how to pull a credit report, I knew how to get it together and send it to the underwriter. And the underwriter sent back and said, "Hey, go ahead and get a title report." And I was like, "Yeah, no idea what that is." And same thing, I had to call my cousin who was a realtor at the time and say, "Hey, like, what's title?" And he chuckled and anyway, so I had the same
We
thing.
maybe should edit this section out of
No
it.
way. This is all going. This is the best part.
I know, but like, well, and it's like, there's some new legislature right now where you have to learn some things, and there's now a test that new agents after their first year in real estate, they have to take a test now
Uh,
to show kind of their practical
That's good.
understanding. So
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
good thing.
I bet you'd pass that now.
Yeah.
I might, yeah.
But then Erica was one of your first clients too, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Erica definitely like they hired to be, back in those days it was a lot easier to get buyers as a less experienced agent,
Sure.
so help them find their current house.
Yeah.
And that was also a really fun story, but a longer story
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay, so you start in 2005. Erica, you're doing legal work.
Mhm.
You're not yet in real estate, and Kari, the crash comes. So you're starting, I would imagine, to build some momentum.
Yeah,
And 2008, and then wham.
yeah.
What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was interesting because I lived up in right on the border of North and Northeast Portland on Williams. And North Portland kept on kind of trucking. It was like this late thing. So it was well into 2008 before I started and that was really where I was doing a lot of work, North and Northeast. Um, and then, so it was late 2008 before it sort of really hit. And then yeah, hard years, hard years. I had two small children at the time and like remember looking for spare change in the sofa 1 week to buy milk because my husband's paycheck wasn't coming that week. And, so got through that, that first time home buyer credit came out in 2010. That definitely got me through. And then I think somebody that Erica referred me to, who was an investor, was doing the thing that investors do, which is the opposite of what everybody else is doing, and was just buying up $100,000 properties in central East Side Portland. And that was a lot of rats and those are and just and you know, evictions. Like literally, you would go and show a house that the family breakfast was still on the table,
Mm.
like still sitting there, and children's rooms full of just all their stuff. Those are hard years. I just think like that whole just kind of eviction, repossession, you know,
Stressed
people, yeah,
properties.
distressed property stuff was really
Yeah.
awful.
But that allowed
But
you
I
to
made it
keep it
through.
to make it through. And what
Yeah.
doesn't kill us just make us stronger, right? And
Yeah.
I can imagine, I mean, we're recording this in 2026. And, for those of you who aren't aware, like 2023, 24, 25 were tough years in the real
Yeah.
estate profession. There was not a lot of volume of transactions. And of course, you guys are, looked up to now, and Kari, you even hold a position of leadership. Like I can imagine you had to retell some of those stories in the last 3 years to realtors, be like, hey, you just got to put one foot in front of the other right now and get through
Yeah.
this time. It will be better on the other side.
Yeah.
And it was for you.
Yeah, I think, and that's we've had a lot of conversations in our brokerage about that. When I ran numbers, and I was like, the transaction volume is lower or the same as it was in 2010 and 11, and it's sort of because it's been a quieter kind of thing this time around. It's not like it's not the entire nation and the economy. It's this sort of quiet thing because sales prices are high. So it's this different thing. So it's been helpful to put that into perspective these last few years.
Yeah, the public, I think, more measures the health of the housing sector based on home prices. Of
Right.
course, we look at volume
Right.
and in opportunities. But what's so interesting about that statistic is that it's not only that is the nominal level of transactions the same as 2011, we've got 500,000 more people here. So when you look at it on a per capita basis,
Mm.
it's really low, right?
Yeah,
It's some of the
that's
lowest
good.
of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So just in, that there's a variety of factors there. But here we are, and we're growing out of it, and
Yep.
you grew out of it. So you began to see some growth and acceleration after the crash ended. And of course, 2012, 13 were wonderful years to be in Portland, and you were getting a little busy.
Yeah.
So
I
you
got
had
slammed.
you had to add a teammate.
Yeah. And so Erica had been talking forever. I'm going to do real estate. And I would be like, yeah, all right. And in 2013, I was so busy. And it's what everybody had said. If you can make it through and and don't pull back on your marketing,
Right.
you will be among the last standing. And that really was the case. I was still there. People knew me. And then it was just, it was really busy. And so I was like, it's now or never, Erica. And she did it. She left her cushy attorney job at the city and came to do the Wild West real estate with her cousin.
Yeah, so Erica, I want to know more about that. I mean, that couldn't have been an easy decision. You have the security of, you're an attorney for the city. I can imagine you've got a very safe salary and benefits, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to go work with my cousin and we'll see.
And I think that's part, I mean, I think that's part of the answer. The answer was I was looking for a little more adventure. I was feeling
Mm,
a little staid. I loved being a lawyer. This was not a take this job and shove it kind of, momentum, but I was also, I was just feeling a little, well, I also had smaller children
Mhm.
and, an 8 to 5 or whatever, more than that,
mm,
but, an 8 to 5 job wasn't great for sort of when kids were sick and, just sort of the parenting some younger children. And I was looking for a faster, um, more connections with people and a little more of a faster pace. In law, things tend to plod along, and you can have the same issues and clients for years and years, and it's good. But I love the pace of real estate, where you get these
mm.
real. And I don't think I knew that at the time, but now thinking about it, the idea that I really have a 6 to 8 really intense relationship with someone where I can be super just integral in a major life decision,
Yeah.
get in there deep with them, help them make these decisions, help them move forward, and then move on to, after maybe 3 months. So it's not this sort of hanging on to a case that might last for 4 years and you're like, okay, here we are again. So I was looking for a little more pace. And then quite frankly, I was also seeing the real estate market kind of
Mhm.
coming out. And my husband works for a utility here in town, and I was working for the city, and we were able to just chart our income for the next,
Yeah.
slowly just chart our income. No risk, no volatility. Also not high reward. I mean, not that we were underpaid, but
Right.
um, and we kind of looked at it. My husband and I looked at each other and we looked at it. Well, this could kind of be like an investment decision where he's the one who is going to have the steady rate, and maybe I can have a little volatility, and maybe the upside of the up will help us out financially. So I think the schedule, the pace, and then sort of the idea that I could be in charge of some bigger growth got me
I
into real
mean,
estate.
as a person with a financial background, what you just said was so beautiful, Erica. Like that, you just the awareness of the understanding of like the investment aspect and the risk and volatility. There's so many things there that are, and it's, I can imagine, hopefully I can imagine it has paid off. But I think if we look at this from your customers' perspectives, when I look at your team, you guys complement each other so well. And to have a basically an attorney on your team is like a superpower in my judgment in the real estate. It gives you such credibility and authority in the marketplace in your interactions. And you don't strike me as a person that is adversary or flaunting that, but like you also, it's a responsibility and it's one that I can imagine like you are as equipped as anybody in the city to take on. Um, so there's the technical skills there, but I think your personalities also like complement each other as well. I mean, like maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'll let you guys tell us about that. But like, how
I
do you
mean,
guys how do you yin and
besides the
yang?
good
I was
cop,
gonna
bad
say,
cop,
good cop, bad
Yeah.
and we are okay with that. It's every once in a while I'm like, can we please switch just for one transaction? But it's really hard because we land in those roles so easily. Yeah, I mean, Erica is the rainmaker. She, as shy as she was as a kid, I don't think there's a person in the city who doesn't know Erica George. Like she's just out and likes to be busy and really doesn't feel like you're breathing if you're not being
Yeah,
social. Like,
it's true. I
yeah.
love it, and I love the connections I make, and I think they all feel very genuine,
Yeah, and
and
they're
then they
genuine. Yeah.
so that has been great. So I do it has been that has been a really rewarding part of this. And it's funny, I didn't really enjoy it in the law. That the way it was just different, but I love it. I love making those connections here in
Mhm.
Portland. And I really, as much as I love homes, I love Portland, and I believe in Portland, and I feel like I'm an
Yeah.
ambassador. And I think that hopefully comes through when I talk with people. So that's very cool. So I'm really great with the let's feel good about this. Let's write the offer. Let's present the offer as well. I think one thing to be a lawyer, you have to be a good writer, and I think that has really just helped. That's helped my whole practice of real estate is being able to be a good lawyer, succinct, forceful, yet you don't have to burn it down. You can still get what you want by just being clear as opposed to mean or nasty.
Yeah.
And then, but then, uncomfortable conversations, hard conversations, buyers who need to get real, sellers who need to I'm like, oh, let's bring Kari in for those conversations. Kari has never met a real conversation she doesn't love.
Well,
So,
I maybe had one right before this, but that's okay. Yeah. So, and I think, and what that is, uh,
you close the deals.
yeah, and trust. I think I build trust really quickly. People know that I'm a straight shooter, and I think
Yeah.
that's really clear to people. And again, because I take the time to educate, I think there is a very strong understanding of advocacy, like the how seriously we both take our fiduciary
Yeah.
duty. And so I think we have a high level of trust early on. And then yeah, so I feel like inspection period was always my jam. Like
Yeah.
I loved getting like negotiating. But I mean, we always say we aren't just mediators. There's that thing in real estate that you hear like the win-win for everybody. Yes. And we also advocate strenuously for our clients. Like it's not just about, mediating a deal. We look for opportunities to leverage for our clients. And I take that really
Yeah.
seriously, knowing that again, this is not a court of law. This is not a legal case where there's a winner and a loser. This is a deal that has to come together. And if one party really thinks like they're getting ripped off, your deal's going to fall apart. So there's
Yeah.
just a reality there. And so yeah, I was felt like I was the closer, and then we have really good referral rates, from our clients, I think, as a result of the entire experience. Like from
Yeah. Well, you guys rounded out, and I think that directness, Kari, that, being very direct with people and speaking transparently works so long as they understand that you're doing it in their interest, right? It's like a
Exactly.
really good coach. A really good
Yeah.
coach can be stern, or a really good parent can be stern because that person internally knows that they're doing it out of love. And or your case, advocacy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a self-interest. It's no, it's because I care about you is why
Yeah.
we're doing this. So it is a great mix. But there's also an aspect, Erika, that you brought to the partnership, which was the structure, the process, the organization. And I see this every single day in the real estate industry and mortgage industry, is that so many of us are, pretty good about interacting with people and, enjoy that aspect of it. But the actual operation or the system behind that allows you to scale and really serve your clients on a consistent basis is sometimes lacking. But you sort of brought that experience over from the law firm, correct?
Well, yeah, and I think really what it came down to is Kari had so much in her head when I started because she was so experienced by that time, and she'd say, oh well, just send out this form, and I'd say, well, how would I have known about that form? And she's like, well, you just do, you learn, and
Yeah, no systems in place.
yeah, and we've definitely built them together, but now
And we were late on that, I
yeah,
would say.
yeah.
It's the thing that we've learned, like we really needed to probably have gotten to that a lot sooner than
Yeah.
we did. We maybe learned some hard
Yeah.
lessons and was like, okay, we need a template here, an email that
But
should go out at this point, or
yeah, and then we have a tracking system for all of our transactions and also just our client touches. And of course we have really just we know what emails we're sending. It's almost if you get this question, then this email is triggered. So we're not reinventing the wheel and people are getting the information they need, and not just email. Sometimes this is a call, right? We love emails. I love to write. We also love to talk on the phone. And sometimes that has to happen too. But
Okay, so if you're watching this as a consumer, let me just tell you, I know from experience, maybe 10 to 15% of real estate professionals in our city have systems that Erika and Kari are describing. And they are important because they allow you as the consumer to be fully informed. And more importantly, you can rest assured your timelines will be met.
right.
All right. If you are an aspiring real estate agent and you want to learn how to build a business and scale your business and grow, build systems that
Yeah.
allow efficiency,
yeah.
because it's really, truly important in terms of your ability to serve your customers at a higher level on a consistent basis. Otherwise, you start to get busy, your follow-up lags, and you're
Yep.
not doing as well by your customers as you can.
Yeah.
So I love what you just said there, and I think a lot of different people could learn from that. Okay, I want to talk about, I mean, you guys have built this sort of dream team, you guys have the systems, and you guys are cranking. And again, you guys are extremely well respected in the real estate community. Um, and when you look at the reviews that your customers leave you guys, they're glowing. And there's a few themes in here that I really, really want to focus on. I would say that the two things that you see the most that people talk about is just what wonderful listeners you are. And that sounds very simple, but it's not, because the process of buying a home can feel very overwhelming. It can be very emotional on a lot of levels. And sometimes it can be difficult to really tune into the issues or objections or concerns that a customers have. But it seems like the customers that have worked with you feel like that they've been heard. Um, your listening and your communication are stellar. How do you think either your past experiences or the systems you've built have allowed you to excel in that regard?
Well, and we talked about this a little bit. I think it comes naturally because we want to connect with people, so we want to hear their why. But more importantly, it comes with practice.
Yeah.
Mm,
And we went to a course pretty early in our partnership
Mhm.
that sort of rocked our world on a lot of things. But one of them was just how effective asking the right questions can be. And so being able to not just get to people's why, but asking them more about a statement they make instead of immediately trying, if someone says, I am not going to get into a competitive offer situation. That is not for me. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do that. Rather than immediately going in and saying why they should, instead, what we learned and we've practiced is tell me more about that. What is it about that would, that brings up that anxiety, or, tell me more about that. And asking them questions to get to what their actual need is, right? As opposed, if their need is not to be in their need isn't just the situation. Their need is it they need to feel secure in their decision making? Is it that they're worried that they're pre-approved, they're only pre-approved for this much and they wouldn't be able to win? I mean, what is the need? So I think
good investment that they're making if they're paying more than the list price.
Right. So I think it's not just asking a series of questions when people start. It's actually asking questions all along the way. You will get so much more information, and then you're going to be able, and actually, sometimes by asking the right questions, you don't end up providing any answers at all.
That's the best.
That's the best. You just end up keep asking questions, and they will come up with their own. So they come up with their own solution, which is so much more powerful than someone, preaching something to you.
Well, and they feel heard, they feel confirmed, right? Which is, that's powerful in and of itself, and too, in terms of building trust, in connection with someone. And again, that sounds very simple, but that really truly is a master skill to be able to know when to ask for more information, because intuitively our minds like to begin to try to counteract or object to what they're saying, which does not build trust and does not help them build or solve their problems. So amazing.
It is the lifelong, refinement
It's a
of
practice.
a skill.
Yeah, it's a practice for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, the other thing in here that I think comes up frequently is the humor and the genuineness that you guys bring into your connections. Again, I think you guys hold yourselves to a pretty high standard, but you're not so rigid that you are, you can be also a human being around your customers. And one of the things that came up is your top 5 list that maybe don't necessarily have 5 things on them. What's that about?
I was making fun of all the. I think it was there must have been whatever 10 years ago when everyone was making their list, and I think we were kind of poking fun at that.
But we always, it's hard to just stop talking sometimes, which is why we always have to remind ourselves to listen.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have the gift of gab. That's the other thing. But yeah, I mean, you see some crazy stuff in real estate, and it sometimes really surprises you. You're out on a tour, and I mean, everything from like naked tenants in the bedroom door that just stuff. If you don't have a sense of humor, oh my gosh, you are not going to survive very long, I think, in this business. So,
and also it's such an intense time with people. I'm going to just show up how I am. I can't put on a new personality of seriousness for 3 months. I love humor. I think humor is effective. It's fun, and it's an effective way to sometimes cut stress. And I just think I think, and those are the, when we've got clients who are laughing at our jokes, those are the clients we really like.
Yeah. But you learn this, like there's a little, like you said, there's a little therapy in real estate, and not all real estate transitions are fun. So, and that is a lifelong practice in real estate is you are working with your clients through a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's hard. So we're not only that, and that's why the listening, I think, is really important, because there are times when you're just like, okay, we need to shift into something different for this particular client need whose parents have just passed or whatever, some, job loss or whatever.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Well, I mean, you guys have had some wonderful experiences and obviously had a tremendous impact on a lot of people's lives, and a lot of people are fortunate to have found you. But the one question I always like to ask as we wrap up is, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice for when you were starting your real estate practice, what advice would you give yourself?
100% organize your database, like create a database, like systems. Yes, put some systems and some tracking systems into place. Yeah, I just seated my pants for way too long, which is why I needed help, I think, in 2013. So
Yeah, yeah. Erika,
maybe a
you?
business class,
Yeah, yeah, that would have been besides just learn how to read a net sheet. You know, I still don't, or not a net sheet,
profit and
the
loss.
profit and loss sheet. I still am like, I look at that, I'm like, well, it all says zero, or the balance sheets, but it all says zero. I don't know what. So not as good with that.
So the business
So the
class.
business class, but also, I guess I would really, I felt like at the beginning I was trying to be everything to everyone, you know, like this idea. And I just, at this point, if I could go back and just say, lean into what you're good at, like, and then the other parts, instead of trying to just do it all and be everything, lean into what you're, just lean into really where you find the most joy and you're good. And then the other parts of real estate, find someone to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, because I think when early on you don't know what you don't know, and you somehow put the pressure on yourself. You have to be this incredibly rounded person. But you're right. Focus on your strengths and leverage that for sure.
And I have one other thing to say because we are not crazy high producers. Like there are a lot of other agents in town who do more business than we do. And I have like grappled with that over the years. But part of what's amazing about this career is that you can tailor it to meet your needs. And both of us, as we said, like I had kids at 40. So I was starting a business and had small children at 40, and Erika is younger than me, but her kids were the same age. And it allowed us to sort of be three quarters
Mhm.
working and have some flexibility to raise our children. And I have beat myself up a little bit about that over the years of like not doing the production levels that other people have done. But I have amazing kids. I was able to sometimes be at the pickup and the playground for an hour, at Saban Elementary, or I whatever, make cookies for my kids before they came home. Like you have these months, seasons where you're cranking and you are working 150% of your day, but then you have some quiet months where you get to reconnect, and I wouldn't trade that for anything at this point.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show the quality people you are, right? So and it's, part of the trouble of this industry is you got to kind of be available, and to have that
Mm.
trade-off is a huge gift. And the ability to work I mean, you said don't act like you're not a great producer though. Yes,
Yeah,
there's others out there, but you guys are doing quality business.
yeah, yeah,
More
for sure.
importantly, what you're doing is you're doing it well for your clients, and the
Yeah.
volume will take care of itself. So, well, Kari, Erika, thank you so much for joining us today on the episode. For those of you who want to find them online, you can go to HouseLovePDX.com. You can Google their names. But if you're around Portland too long, you'll probably hear their names anyways. So again, thank you so much, Kari and Erika, for joining us today, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great one.
Thanks.
Thanks, Evan.